Now I'm on. Good morning, everyone. We'll call the regular meeting of City Council to order for Monday, December 17th. Merry Christmas, everyone. This will be our last meeting of the year, so we appreciate having a full gallery. And we're going to change up the order of the agenda this morning. The chair always maintains the prerogative to amend the agenda as necessary. And since we've got a great full delegation, we're going to leave that to the end of the day so that you guys can stay with us and enjoy the council meeting. Little Pinocchio.
Oh, good.
I'm feeling a little perky today. So our first order of business this morning is our delegations, and it's a real pleasure to see a full gallery of folks. And we're going to do our 2018 community awards and for the nominees. And so we'll start with the first one, and this is sponsored by the Dawson Co-op. Do we have the Co-op here? Okay, so the mayor will do this one. So our first we're going to do is the Youth of the Year. I'll have to bring my... And so the Youth of the Year, sponsored by the Dawson Creek Co-op. The recipient of the award is a hard-working grade 12 student at Dawson Creek Secondary School. She's known for her kindness, inclusivity, and has made many connections to local organizations and events. You may have met her on the soccer fields as both a coach and player in the summer league as well as a referee. She's a great role model and deserving of the recognition for all she does. And I should have said this, the nominees are Emma Hopkins and Riker Mayhew, and the winner is Emma Hopkins. All right. Yeah, I'd like to open the envelopes. Congratulations. Congratulations. Great job. And it's my pleasure to present you with the Youth of the Year Award. Congratulations. Oh, did you get it? Thank you. Congratulations. Merry Christmas. And next up we have Entrepreneur of the Year, and this is sponsored by Community Future. So Sue, would you come up and we'll... Entrepreneur of the Year. So the three nominees for Entrepreneur of the Year were Meg Duncan, Dave McConnell, and Denise Ernest. The Entrepreneur of the Year award is sponsored by Community Futures. Recipient of the award is an incredibly talented, driven, thoughtful, and generous business owner and entrepreneur. She connects on a personal level with every customer, explores the beauty of our region with her outdoor photo shoots, and empowers women by showcasing both their inner and outer beauty. Congratulations to Meg Duncan from Little White Rose Photography. Entrepreneur of the Year. There you go, Sue. Congratulations. Congratulations. Great job. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you.
Can I just sit at the desk and then take pictures from there? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Business of the Year is sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce, and Wanda Mondrell is here today to help us with that. So the nominees for Business of the Year this year were Just Be Oily, Young Living Oil with B, DC Chow Time, Deep Physio, Unearthed Bling, RBC, Skin Ovations, Dawson Creek Midwifery, and Roving Comb. And the Business of the Year award is sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce. Recipient of the award has grown her business of Young Living Oils and helped many people in the community see the benefits of a natural way of living. She has understanding when it comes to her business and allows people the chance to try the product without having to purchase or join the group. Congratulations to B. Rutledge of Just Be Oily Young Living Oil. Congratulations, Pete. Congratulations. Great job. Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you.
Citizen of the Year. This year we had 7 nominees. Daniel Martin, Austin Sones, Day Roberts, Debbie Longley, Donna Kane, Meredith Thornton, and Brenda Kreitzer. The Citizen of the Year award is sponsored by the City of Dawson Creek. The recipient of the award served as a school teacher until retirement, was active in his church, volunteered at the food bank, and opened his home to adult males who would otherwise be homeless. Congratulations to Mr. Austin Sones. And Mr. Bill Taylor is here accepting the award on behalf of Austin. Austin's in the hospital these days, so we're really wishing him well, and thank you so much for coming in, Mr. Taylor, to accept it on his behalf.
Austin went in for his 90th birthday, and I'm afraid he's very, very frail at this point. But
Well, we wish him the best for us. Merry Christmas. And the final award this year is sponsored by the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living. Is there someone here from? Yes. So we have Jerry here joining us from the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Nice meeting you.
And this award this year is the Inclusive Workplace of the Year Award. The Inclusive Workplace of the Year Award is sponsored by the Dawson Creek Society for Community Living. Recipient of the award is an excellent employer for persons with disabilities. They're kind, patient, and very easy to talk to. Individuals are treated with respect and given the time needed to learn their jobs. Congratulations to the Mirror. And we have Margot here representing the Dawson Creek Mirror. Congratulations, Margot. Congratulations. We'll open it up. And
Thank you. Thank you.
great job. There you go.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas. So I want to offer congratulations to all the nominees. We had an amazing response into the community awards this year, and it's such a pleasure to be able to participate in this at this time of the year. And we want to offer, obviously, our congratulations to all the nominees, all the folks who were nominated, because it's demonstrating how significant our community is in having a really engaged community, both our business and citizens. And I want to thank you all for coming this morning, and really wish you all a very Merry Christmas and all the best in 2019. So thank you. And you're absolutely welcome to stay. But if you'd like, we'll take a minute to let folks get on with their days and Christmas shopping. No, not that. Oh, she. So thank you. Our next item on the agenda is item 2.2. We have Mr. Mike Reedman and Brad Booker from School District 59 are in attendance regarding their partnership program and Northern Opportunities. And good morning, gentlemen. Delegation floor table is yours, and we appreciate it. So we just need the microphone for the recording.
Oh yeah, no standing.
We do have a mic, don't we?
We're just used to, as teachers, not sitting a whole lot.
Well, thank you for coming this morning. Good morning, and the floor is yours.
I just want to thank Mayor and Council for allowing us to come and present today. I was just sort of remarking to Brad about the number of people who were in the gallery here, just as it sort of cleared out, who have been involved in School District 59 career programs, either supporting students or being part of staff in those programs. So it was kind of interesting to see as we come here. I know that a number of you know about the programs that School District 59 offers because you have been involved yourselves, but wanted to provide new council members specifically with an opportunity to kind of learn and hear about what's happening in School District 59 and the connection to the larger partnership group, Northern Opportunities, which is a regional group that we, 3 school districts and industry partners and Northern Lights College are all part of. So.
Yeah, maybe I'll just take an opportunity to kind of introduce ourselves and the role that we play within School District 59 in terms of career programs. My name is Brad Booker, and I'm Vice Principal of Career Programs for the district, and our district obviously serves Dawson Creek Secondary, Dawson Creek Community Schools, as well as Chetwynd and Tumbler Ridge. And I fulfill a role within Dawson Creek Secondary School as Vice Principal, and kind of the local shoulder tapper for our students to make those connections between schools and students and the community abroad. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, and I'm Mike Reedman. I'm a Director of Instruction for School District 59, and career education is one of the portfolio pieces that I have. And so Brad and I work quite closely together on a number of initiatives that happen throughout the district and supporting teachers in classrooms with career education all the way from kindergarten through grade 12 and beyond.
Great. So our presentation, we'll keep things brief, but as Mike said, the purpose of us being here is to provide some information about School District 59 and the career programs that are offered here locally within the community of Dawson Creek, to provide some history of the partnership of Northern Opportunities, as well as share some examples of student successes, provide information about local benefits and opportunities for the community of Dawson Creek, its industry and its businesses, opportunities to engage with our local students. So to kick things off, why career education? And maybe I'll start with what is career education. Sometimes it's a bit of a misnomer. It's really about developing in students an awareness of life outside of high school. So it's about career development stemming as young as elementary grades all the way up to grade 12. But career education is about providing students with opportunities to transition from being a student in the K-12 public school system to becoming contributing citizens of our community. It's one of 3 pillars of public education is career education. I'd say the primary goal of public education is to prepare students for the world outside of school, prepare them for being contributing members of society. And when we talk about career education at the school district, we talk about a couple of things, but mostly it's about helping students develop skills and awareness of those are personal as well as the greater needs of society, by providing them with opportunities to try out different career experiences, as well as develop in themselves the self-awareness and reflection on what they're good at and what they want to do after school. So in our region, an organization was developed about 14 or 15 years ago called Northern Opportunities, and it brought together the 3 school districts, 60, 81 in Fort Nelson, and 59 here in the South Peace. It was spearheaded by Spectra, or Duke Energy at that time, looking at the sort of shortage of skilled workers in our region. Brought the college on board, and it's developed into some of the programs that are provided by Northern Lights College and provide opportunities for our students to do trades training and vocational training while still in high school. First meeting back in 2001, but it's a pretty big deal in our area, and Brad will acknowledge that we're sort of recognized provincially for the efforts of that group in providing opportunity for students, and particularly in the trade sector, in school or in college training while still in high school and transitioning them beyond that. So I'm just going to flip to the next slide. I want to acknowledge our community partners in all of this. And initially, Northern Opportunities had 5 or 6 key community partners that provided some financial support for the organization and the creation of those programs. That's expanded.
to include the list you see up there. Locally in the South Peace region in Canada is key for us. Of course, that partnership with Northern Lights College, Shell Canada a little bit, but Spectra Energy now, Enbridge as well. So those folks, we work a little bit on the financial side, but a lot on partnerships to provide opportunity for kids on the experiential side of programming. And so I want to acknowledge the support that all of those organizations have given us regionally and more specifically here in the South Peace region.
So I just want to talk a little bit about kind of what career programs look like. For some folks, it's you've heard about these before, but for others, it's news. I'll highlight our secondary programs, particularly around trades education, because those tend to be kind of our flagship programs. So our secondary programs include dual credit opportunities. So those are experiences for students who are in their grade 12 year of high school to study at Northern Lights College. It gives students an immense head start into either trades training or vocational training, because they get their foundation or level 1 of a trade or vocation. So there's several different programs available to students here at the Dawson Creek campuses as well as in Fort St. John. And every year we have dozens of students that enroll in these programs, and it's amazing how they get a head start of completing their grade 12 education, graduating on time, and having that first year of education in a trade under their belt. This year we're offering our third year of the Trade Sampler program, and this is a program for our secondary school students to study in the brand new Trades Training Center at Northern Lights College to experience 5 different trades. So it's a full semester. They're over at the college with an instructor, and it gives them a chance to experience a variety of trades to decide what they want to do later on in life, kind of a try it before you buy it scenario for them. We also have WEX, which is work experience, and Duncan and I were talking about a student that's working here at the city of Dawson Creek in the heavy-duty department of the Public Works. So it's a chance for students to be out on placement, kind of like an internship opportunity. We've got students who are doing work experiences as part-time paid positions in a variety of local community businesses, as well as volunteer opportunities with Northern Health, as well as Ministry of Forest, Lands, Natural Resource operations. So a huge spread of chances for students to get out and experience the world of work. And lastly, our youth work in trades, formerly the secondary school apprenticeship model, which is a chance for students in the high school grades to be out working with a tradesperson. And the benefit of this program is they get a chance to develop experience, start counting their hours towards an apprenticeship in a paid work environment. So those are our secondary programs, and I just mentioned them because those are the ones that we primarily work on. But I also want to acknowledge that as career education, pardon me, is a major pillar of public education, we're expanding into the full K-12 system. So starting earlier with our elementary students to develop the awareness of different opportunities locally, as well as not deviating but expanding on the trades education component. So continuing to offer these fabulous programs for students interested in engaging in trades education, but also expanding into every imaginable opportunity outside of high school. So post-secondary pursuits into university, other colleges, as well as business and other pursuits.
Okay, so jump back to Northern Opportunities, and so all of these pieces that Brad's been speaking to meet those goals of that larger network that we belong to. So that's increased student and parent interest in those career pathways, and Brad mentioned that initially trades focused, but Northern Opportunities and Northern Lights College and the group that we all work together with have expanded that to include vocational training and academic offerings as well. Increasing those number of community partnerships. And I think we have a number coming up on a slide a little further down that talks about 125 different community organizations and businesses that we're connected with. And I believe that's an old stat, a regional one, and we probably connect with more than that just in the Dawson Creek area alone. And then that seamless transition from school into the workforce. providing students with those opportunities to gain that experience, get that training, and then move directly into work if that's their chosen path, or providing them with opportunities to experience a number of different things before they go off to post-secondary or directly to the world of work. And lots of success with the programs overall, and this is sort of the stats piece, but the first bullet up there talks about a number of events that we have happening throughout the year. Skills Canada, which happens in on February 22nd, in combination with a Youth Explore Trades or Try a Trade event for all of our grade 7s in the region. We have a opportunity for students to experience the energy sector in the region called Peace Energy Week, where we partner with School District 60 and bring in students from out of district as well. And new last year was a heavy equipment operator project that we hosted in Chetwynd. Students from Dawson Creek, Chetwynd, and Tumbler Ridge took part in that, a 7-day experiential piece working on focus on the logging and construction industry. Some of our key successes there, the dual credit pass rate of over 96%, that's our 2-year average. Across the province, dual credit pass rates are in the high 70s, so we're pretty proud of that particular statistic. Our overall graduation rates for students in dual credit programs in the 90% range, which is significantly higher than our overall graduation rate. And then that participation or the graduation rate for Aboriginal students at 80 to 85%, again higher than even our overall grad rate, much higher than what our Aboriginal graduation rate is. We'd like to see more Aboriginal students involved. There are some logistics around transportation, particularly for our students who live in Chetwynd or on reserve outside of Chetwynd. So working on those types of things.
Yeah, a big highlight there, and I know as a council, you guys will often communicate around the province. It's really a situation to gloat a little bit here. We're doing wonderful things here in the north, and really are leading the province statistically with our graduation rates as well as our participation rates. So as a district, the percentage of students that we have entering into a career education or trades training program much higher than anywhere else in the province. So it's pretty great stats.
Yeah, and we'll acknowledge that our participation rates in the formal dual credit programs like everything else will be up and down. But this year, the one big noticeable trend is the numbers are down on that piece, but we've almost doubled our target goal for students in the youth work and trades or secondary school apprenticeship program. And so students have that path to do the training while they're still in high school, or work while they're in high school and transition into probably a level 1 course later on sponsored by the employer. So that's we target, just put the number out there, we target for 25 apprenticeship opportunities for kids. We're at 41 this year, so that's a significant jump from where we have been in previous years.
And it speaks to the power of partnerships, and kind of the goal of our brief presentation today is soliciting for community support and partners. We as public education are open for business, meaning that we want to build those partnerships to the advantage and benefit of our students.
So lots of upcoming events, Brad.
Yeah, so just listing a few events here, and as I describe them, I want Mayor and Council to know that it's an open invitation to any of these events. Be happy to have anybody come and check out what we're doing, but these are just some for the new year. So right off the bat, January 18th, Central Career Seminars, and this is for our grade 8 and 9 students at Central, and speaking to broadening the awareness of career programs earlier. We run this as kind of a workshop for students to connect with local businesses and get some awareness opportunities of local employers. So we have banks come in, teach students about financial literacy. We have local employers of part-time work like Canadian Tire and Safeway and other employers come in to talk to students about what do they look for in hiring kids for their very first job. How do you build that resume? How do you shake a hand? How do you have that interview? So it's a chance for our middle school students to interact with employers and get some experience as they enter the world of work in the coming years. Mike mentioned on February 22nd is our Regional Skills Canada event, as well as Try a Trade and Women in Industry event. It is a huge event. We usually have over 600 students participate. from grade 7, our students come in and they do try a trade event, usually about 20 stations, manned by local Northern Lights College instructors or local employers. A chance for our younger students to experience what it's like to be a tradesperson, as well as students competing in the Skills Canada competitions. It's a wonderful thing to check out, and a good excuse to go to the new Trades Training Center at the college. March 14th is our district career fair at Dcss. Last year we had about 40 local employers come. Again, another chance for employers to connect with students, to share about what it is that they do in their line of work. Some come accepting resumes from students, but the purpose of it is just for kids to connect with employers. We have 2 employer advisory meetings, and these are breakfast meetings as we acknowledge that employers by the end of the day want to go home, so we host a 7 a.m. meeting, bring some breakfast in, and chat with local employers about how we can better connect with them and better connect our students with them, so that we can prepare kids for those transitions. It's a great opportunity for sharing both ways, from the school district to employers, and from gathering information for us on how we can better prepare students. And then Mike mentioned the heavy equipment experience. This is a really cool opportunity for kids to learn about operating heavy equipment, a huge in-demand career in our area. It involves students sitting on several $100,000 pieces of equipment. Last year we had 3 stations, a forestry, a land clearing, and a road building, and we saw kids in button-top loaders, feller bunchers, graders, rock trucks, dozers, you name it. There was 13 machines, and the kids got a chance to spend several hours operating them by themselves. It was pretty amazing. Peace Energy Week is a chance to tour students around the Peace region to check out a variety of careers in the energy sectors. That includes wind, hydro, and oil and gas. So great opportunities coming up. Add them to your agenda if you don't mind, and we really just want to connect with as many people as possible so that students have a chance to learn from local employers.
Right, the other things that Brad has coming up, that some lunch and learn sessions happening at Dawson Creek Secondary, where we'll bring in lunch and a number of different employers from a particular sector. I think you're looking at a healthcare one, oil and gas one, a construction trades one as well. So opportunities for kids to sit and chat in small groups with people in those particular sectors about the opportunities of what it takes to get work in those sectors. And again, you're welcome if you're interested in any of those pieces. Brad will connect, and be nice to have folks from council there as well. Sponsorship pieces, that's sponsoring a student, student for a day type opportunities as well. And then that hosting students, we do student tours at work sites and at the college, as well as we have traditionally run a used to be Take Your Kid to Work Day. It's now Take Our Kids to Work. Grade 9, we're looking to revamp that again for next year. Job shadowing and internships as well.
And I do want to mention here too, we are rolling out a new curriculum province-wide, but here we're looking at a brand new career education course at the high school called Career Life Connections, and a significant portion of it will involve internships, job shadows, and local mentors. So even from the provincial level, the career education model is really shifting to that. It takes a village approach to helping our kids ease that transition out of high school. So in the years to come, we're really looking at extending the connections as broad as possible with community, between schools and community.
And that grad program finishes with a capstone project at the grade 12 level, so every grade 12 student has to do a final project and presentation as part of that. So we're still working on the actual format for that, but again, opportunity for local community members to be involved in those overall presentations. Yeah. And that sort of brings us up to the very end of this, I think, is what's the win-win of career education, so that beginning post-secondary studies and entering the world of work while still in school. Parents, if they're doing dual credit, a more cost-effective way of providing that first year of trades training, and then communities in our area having access to a workforce-ready group of students coming out of our schools. That goes back to the sort of the mantra of Northern Opportunities, which is train in the North and stay in the North. And we, although we are proud of our students who go off and do things away. It's really, really nice to see students who gain training and skills and stay here in our community and raise families. And we see, Brad hasn't yet, but you see children and grandchildren of former students in your classrooms. And so that's sort of the payback in all of this. And we have, I think, one sort of ask from you folks as council members and mayor. One of the pieces that Northern Opportunities has done for us over the previous 16 years is provided some funding for our career programs. That's come courtesy of the Northern Development Initiative Trust and most recently Minister of Education. And we're working on a final years of our agreement with them, and we're not asking you for money at all, but if you're in your circles of contact through UBCM or beyond that with ministry, and you can maybe help us to celebrate the successes we're having with our students in career education in the district, and sort of share that information about the importance of that to those students. We look at some of those numbers, the graduation numbers and the success rates of students, and if you're out and about in the community, you'll see plenty of kids who, and now young adults who have gone through our career programs, are successfully working in industry or starting their own businesses and contributing back to the community. So I think that's sort of our ask for all of this, is just sort of sharing the good news about what's happening around career education.
Yeah, it's really it's worth the investment of time and energy to to invest in our students. Every year we have approximately 180 students graduate out of Dawson Creek Secondary School. So it makes good economic sense for our community to invest in those students and see the returns of them contributing, becoming contributing members. So here's our contact information, our emails. So please, we're, as a school district, open for business. We want as many connections as possible.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you out in some of those events that we have are hosting throughout the year, and want to thank you for letting us to present today, and also to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for coming in. It was
thanks.
very good. And any questions? Councillor Lexo.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thanks for your presentation. I think Northern Opportunities, most people are probably aware of it now with the history it has developed in our region, and I want to say thank you for the work you do. You mentioned the dual credit program is amazing. I mean, I think society, you know, we raise our children, and I think it, with no intent, it was always go to university and get an education. We kind of lost track of the trades for a while. We're refocused as a society, putting them both up there. We need both, university education as well as trades. You mentioned grade 12s for the dual credit program. It was my understanding when that was initiated, it was both grade 11 and 12. Was it not? Or isn't there an age?
It was initially, and what we found is that if we can put that in the grade 12 year, it gives students an opportunity to get all of their other prerequisites for graduation done prior to. What we were finding a little bit is that students would go to a dual credit program and still have to come back to us for a semester to finish off. And it wasn't necessarily the most successful semester for them. They were used to a college environment and were ready to go to work. And so if we can front load all the academic pieces prior to that and get that dual credit opportunity happening in their grade 12 year, then they're done. They still graduate with us, all of that, but they're done and ready to go to work. So that seemed to be it's proven to be a more successful model
Better
for
fit.
us.
Okay. And just one further thing, Your Worship, you mentioned NDIT in your partnership. Are you working on a reapplication as this nears an end? And if so, could you make sure that we get a copy of that so we can work with you to try and ensure the success of that?
Absolutely. You're sort of our first stop on our tour.
Perfect.
We will be talking to council in Fort St. John, Chetwynd, and Tumbler Ridge as well.
Okay.
And then we are connecting with NDIT, I think, just early in the new year, our first conversation with them. We're about a year out from that refunding funding piece, but yeah, just we will definitely keep you in the loop on that.
All right. Well, thank you. And thanks for the work you do.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Appreciate you coming in. Merry Christmas to you guys. Our next delegation this morning is Pam Morris and Michael Dion. Pam's the head librarian at the Dawson Creek and District Library, and Michael's our library board member, and they're going to give us their annual library update. Come on, come on. Good morning and welcome.
Morning.
Nice to have you here this morning.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. If Mike is going to start us off.
Yeah, it's all right, I'll stand. I might have to stand here for the microphone, I don't know what the rules are. 2018's been a great year. We have a new librarian, library manager. It's worked out wonderfully, the board couldn't be happy. We're soon to hopefully have a new board chair. Hannah Gilly, it's been on the board for a couple of years now. She's done a wonderful job chairing meetings this fall as assistant chair. It's tough to do the numbers, but it's been like 14 years for me on the board so far, on and off. And only allowed to serve 18, but so 14 years in, we have new blood in the library. The succession planning has gone great. We're just looking to practice what we preach, do the same thing for the board. So I'll serve out my mandate, I'll still be around. Probably have a new chair in January. It's up to the will of the board, however they vote. That's how it's going to go. But things are great at the library. So that's my piece. I'll let Pam talk about all the wonderful things that's happened, but we'll keep it brief.
Thank you, Michael.
So I brought a few stats along today and a few list of things that we've been doing at the library for the last year. We have about 4,000 active patron users, so I think that's about a third of our population. Is that when I say active, they have library cards and they're checking books in and out. We also have a lot of people who come in and who don't have cards who use the space as well. We have public internet computers that they don't need a card to use, and those are busy every single day. We have 8 of those and they're always busy. So people are using those for job applications, checking emails, printing things off, scanning things, all kinds of different uses for those, and just using it to check their Facebook too. You know. We have a collection of about 70,000 items in our collection. That's books, magazines, audiobooks, DVDs. That doesn't include ebooks that you can access through our website, which we share with the province through Libraries to Go. So that's our collection. This year has been a huge year of change for us, with myself moving into my new position, but we also had a longtime staff member who was quite key in her position retire as well. She was our bookkeeper and our interlibrary loans person, and so she has moved into retirement, and everybody's moved again in our staff has all moved around again, so that's been a big change. But I have to say they've been great, and everybody's been very supportive of each other in their new positions and learning new jobs. Some of the things we've done this year, we've had a lot of partnerships around town, and some of those things include things like partnering with the high school librarian to do a book award, a Aurora Borealis book award. We've created those library boxes around town with some members of the business members and the art gallery and literacy society, where we have our little community boxes where you can borrow up or go ahead and take a book out of the box. We have partnered with the City of Elmnar Book Walk along the walking path. That continues, that partnership. We've done Park and Play with the city. Another big partnership was the Dolly Parton Imagination Library that we're involved with the Rotary Club, where all children under 5 years of age get a free book if they register, and they can register at the library, and they get a free book every month, paid for by donations to the Rotary Club, and we're a registration partner with that, and that's been a really neat thing to see get off the ground. Some of the other things we do a lot of children's programming. We do 5 different programs in the fall and in the spring. So that's babies, toddlers, preschoolers, children in kindergarten to grade 3 after school, and then grade 3 and up. Every second week we do different kinds of programs, either a craft or a games day or some kind of programming. So that happens in the fall and the spring, and then we also have the huge summer reading club that we do every summer. That's about 500 to 600 kids register for that every summer, and we do programming all summer for them. We have all kinds of events all summer long. Yesterday we had a book launch of a children's book. We do things like we have a book club, we have a Pinterest craft night, we have a seed library that we've started this year, a knitting group, We have a really active Friends of the Library group who do a huge book sale every year and do seniors teas with us 3 or 4 times a year. So those are some of the big things that are going on, and then just constant, things that come up that people like to partner with us with. Our biggest thing that we've done this year is a change in our operating program, which our patrons would see now that we can do things like create accounts. So our patrons at home can create an account through our webpage, and they can renew their books online. They can put holds online. They can see what they have out and when it's due, and if they have any fines, and all those different kinds of things they can do from home now. And it's been a huge change for our staff. It just happened in October. So we're learning something completely new. Since I've been there 15 years. We've had the same program that we use to operate, to check books in and out and all that kind of thing. And so this is a really big learning curve for some of us because we've been there a long time and are used to one system. And so we're slowly getting there. So our patrons have been great being patient with us and as we go and learn this new system. But I think for them, we've heard nothing but great comments about, I can do that now? Like, wow, that's really cool. Or somebody, I used to be able to do that in my old library, but now I can do that here. That's really great. So it's been a huge year of change for us, but I think it's been a good year and we've got it out of the way. And now we're off to getting back into a routine of how everything works. And it's been a great year for me personally. And I'm very thrilled to have Amy as our new boss on the library board. And we're looking forward to good things in the coming year again. So thank you very much for having us.
I think from a board standpoint, Pam and her staff have just been ducks. They just float along. We've had them like crazy underneath, but we don't hear about them. So it's great. They've just solved the problems and dealt with it. And like you say, from the bottom of the pole to the top, everybody's taken a step up, walked into their new jobs. They're already cross-trained to do it. Then throw a whole new operating system on board. I mean, your interlibrary loan requests have quadrupled.
The first week we went, we have this new interlibrary loan. We still have the old system that we were maybe getting, in a day we might send out 5, 6 books to other libraries, and we might receive the same from other libraries for our patrons. Now, the first week that we got the new system, we had 100 requests in the first day. So our interlibrary loan person is run off her feet right now. So we're looking at ways of.
That's one of the other neat things people can do from their accounts.
Wow.
Yes. Or just put something on hold, which we have to go and, it's not like they I might grab that when I'm in there. Now they can, they've got all these, and they place them all on hold, and that's her job to also go grab those off the shelf and put them.
Sure like to read that book. Where's my car keys and my coat and my boots?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
just click and it's done.
Yeah. So it's made a big difference in that part of our workflow too. So it's interesting. Good stuff.
Well, great job. Thank you. Obviously, it's always good to hear from our library and the stability of the organization over the years, and certainly Michael and Jenny. And so it's exciting to see the transition, and obviously you guys continuing on to provide that amazing service to the community and the kids. So great job. Council, any questions? You guys, thanks so much for coming in this morning, and we really want to sincerely wish you all a Merry Christmas and all the best in 2019, and good job.
Thank you. Same to you.
Next up, we have item 2.4. We have Jay Morrison from North River Midstream and Andrew are here to give us an update on the North River Midstream, Inc. Formerly Dukes, formerly
Exactly.
Good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, Mayor Bumstead, Council, and staff for having us here today. My name is Jay Morrison. I'm in External Affairs at North River Midstream, and with me today is Andrew Benjamin. He's the operations manager in this area, so that's the Peace Arch and Tupper assets. The goal of today's presentation is really just to give you an introduction to North River Midstream. It is a new name with some new colors in the community of Dawson Creek. A lot of the same assets though. So I'll talk about the context. Brookfield owns us, how we interplay with them. I'll talk about the assets that we have under management now and that we will have, as well as I'm going to talk about an expansion program underway right now, just about 20-25 kilometers outside of town. What happened, you don't have to read this, but what happens in the future may not be exactly as I'm representing it today. So that's a legal note for you. At the highest level, Brookfield is an alternative asset management company that is global in nature, in over 30 plus countries, and operating over $330 billion worth of assets. So you can see on this map, most of the assets are in North America, but there's a substantial position in many other countries. The company is broken and divided into 4 main parts. Most people probably know Brookfield for the commercial real estate side of things, and that is worth over half of the company, but also significant are investments in renewable power and private equity, as well as the Brookfield infrastructure tranche, which is where North River Midstream fits in. Brookfield infrastructure is focused on long-term, high-quality infrastructure assets that generate stable cash flow. So on July 4th of this year, Brookfield announced that it would be acquiring most of Enbridge's Western Canadian natural gas gathering and processing assets in Northeast BC and Northwest Alberta. And that does go back, those are the same assets that were operated by Spectra Energy, that were operated by Duke, that were operated by West Coast Energy for decades before that. So I've got a map of the assets included in this deal. Notably, the transmission pipeline system is not included in the deal, so that's the Big Inch pipeline system from Fort Nelson to the border of the US. That will remain Enbridge, but most of the rest of the gathering and processing that Enbridge had owned previous to this has been transferred. You can see the dark blue are the phase 1 assets and the light blue are phase 2. So we have a 2-phase transaction happening. Phase 1 were the provincially regulated assets. So that's the BC Oil and Gas Commission and the Alberta Energy Regulator, whereas phase 2 are the federally regulated assets. October 1st, we moved over those provincially regulated assets. So we are operating about half of the value of the deal today. We're a ripe old age of about 2.5 months old now. We're looking to transfer the federally regulated assets by the middle of 2019. And there's a longer regulatory period for those assets because we're looking to not only transfer title, as we did with the provincially regulated assets, but we're also looking to bring those NEB regulated assets in line with the rest of the assets and under British Columbia Oil and Gas Commission regulation as a part of phase 2. In total, this deal is worth about $4.3 billion Canadian. It includes 19 facilities with about 3.5 billion cubic feet of gas processing capacity per day, and 3,500 kilometers of gathering pipelines to feed those processing plants. So a significant footprint in this part of the world, all around Dawson Creek and in all of Northeast BC. And one other thing to note is that we are pretty ideally located on top of the North and Central Montney. Of course, those are very economic plays right now in terms of the natural gas game. So all around Dawson Creek and Fort St. John, things are pretty good because of the higher liquids content and the higher liquids nature of the gas play of the Montney. We're also in the Liard and Horn River basins around Fort Nelson. Not as high of liquid content up there, but there is LNG optionality with those plays. With these assets, we're also bringing a long legacy of employees. We have currently 170 employees that have come over, employees and contractors. And with phase 2, we're looking to bring another over 500 employees that were legacy, all of the legacy companies before. So we do have a lot of local people who have operated these assets for years and decades coming as a part of this deal that will continue to manage and operate these assets. I think Andrew's a good example of that. Andrew lives in town here. He's the manager for all of the plants, or with the exception right now of Dawson, around the Dawson Creek area. He's operated plants. He's managed the West Doe plant. He's been to community meetings. He knows a lot of the stakeholders and residents in the area. And now he's got a big portfolio of plants in the South Piece. So we will remain committed to communities, really business as usual. And what this means is that we are focused on safe and reliable operations, as we have always been focused on as our legacy companies. And on top of that, we're looking to improve our health and safety records at all times. That's the same as the legacy companies that we've operated as well. You heard from Northern Opportunities in the school district. We're partnered with them. We're looking to engage with the community and partner with the community in areas of need, especially. So we're going to continue to have a relationship with the community, let you know what's happening in our shop, as well as partner with you in areas that are needed in the community. And finally, one other thing that hasn't changed, we're looking to invest in these assets. And we have a program underway right now called the Tupper West Expansion Program. We're looking to do 3 things within this program. First is to expand the gas processing capabilities at the Tupper West plant, which exists. It's the little gray icon near the bottom of that map. To the immediate south of that, we're looking to expand the facility, and that's the yellow icon on the map, by about 200 million cubic feet per day. The second element is that red box near the top of the map. That's a booster compressor station. The purpose there is to allow us to meet spec to go into the sales line that the third party carries the gas to markets. And fourthly is illustrated by the yellow dashed line. We're looking to put an electrical transmission line in to electrify both the existing facility as well as the expansion that we're building. So those are the 3 parts. 2 OGC applications have been submitted already for the gas plant and the booster compressor. In the next short while, we're looking to submit an application for that electrical transmission line. High level, planned construction early in 2019 is the start date we're hoping for, and looking to have it in service by the fall of 2020. So about a 1.5 year construction period on that. We have engaged with the community, with local leaders, with local Indigenous communities on this program. We haven't seen any great concerns, but we are working with the communities with any of the concerns that they do have. So I kept it short and sweet. If there are any questions, we're happy to answer them now.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah.
Any questions? Any idea of for the construction timeline? Obviously, we'll go out to. Any idea of what kind of anticipated workforce would be required for the transmission line and the plant development?
Do we know the numbers?
I don't think we have the numbers yet. We're still in the RFQ process and the bidding process for a lot of that.
Plant construction usually be a couple hundred. Wouldn't it?
Hundreds, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I can get back to you with numbers. I'm sure there's some anticipated numbers.
It just would be interesting to see, just because I'm assuming for that year of construction, or 1.5 years, just the impact on our community, right, in terms of hotels and additional accommodation and all that stuff, just so we kind of have that in the hopper in terms of understanding the capacity in the community with all the other things that are going on.
Okay, I'll get you some numbers.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to, and you talked about the total workforce for Brookfield, but is there any idea in terms of out of that 500 or 600, what the total full-time workforce would be in the region, but both North Piece, South Piece? Do you have that? Do you think that's available, broken down?
We could break that up too. It's been broken up. I can't remember what it is. The most significant portion of employees will be located here in the field.
Yeah, it's just interesting always to say, when we have these construction projects, what does it mean? Well, when you add these permanent facilities into operation in the region, it brings 20 power engineers and the electricians and all of that. And that's the really positive, I think, if we have that information. It's just very helpful for us to talk about why is the economic impact to our community in the region, because it creates these really great full-time, long-term jobs in our region, right?
Okay.
So
I'll get you some ballpark figures.
Yeah, that's right. And it's.
I think we'll have some as a part of our, preliminary studies.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions for Jay and Andrew? So I appreciate you guys coming in this morning. Obviously, we were at the open house when you were there, and obviously these construction jobs are good jobs that bring hotels, rental accommodation, restaurants, all that stuff. It's the long-term stuff that's the real gold, and so we really appreciate you guys coming in this morning and giving us an update on it. And we always look to that support from industry when they're coming in to support our community and support our local businesses, and we appreciate you guys coming in to do that this morning.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Jay, there's houses for sale. I've got an inventory for you if you were thinking about the relocation package.
Need an extra bedroom there? Congratulations again.
Always trying to talk Jay into moving to Dawson. He's just not having any part of it. So thank you. We'll now move to new councillor business. Item 3. Anyone? Councillor Lexer?
Well, I'm somewhat, I guess, not hesitant to comment on the municipalities that have sent a letter to the oil and gas companies requesting that they contribute to their climate change. I would suggest that we could, in fact, send a letter of complete support to the oil and gas industry. I think they do a very good job, not only in our region, but in Canada as a whole. I think we are leaders in looking after the environment. Without question, everything we do leaves a footprint on this earth, but it was disheartening to hear that starting with Whistler and I believe 13 other municipalities in our province had sent a letter, I don't know if demanding would be the word, that the oil and gas companies should help fund their operations. And, you know, maybe I certainly wish them a very Merry Christmas. I'm sure it's going to be cold because they won't want to turn their furnace on and use natural gas or travel by a vehicle to visit friends and family. But people have to get their head around the fact that, you know what, we use this resource. We're a resource-rich nation. We use it. We're responsible in how we develop it. The oil and gas companies are improving every day on what they do. And to see municipalities write a letter like that, it's just disheartening. So it was hard not to say something, but it certainly makes a person rethink the communities you'll go visit in the future if that's how they're going to. Our livelihood is based around the oil and gas. Our families, our friends, they work in the industry. This is how they provide for their families, and to have municipalities take that stand, I have very little respect for it. That's my new business, Your Worship.
Well, it was disheartening, and I read the articles that were produced and printed as a result of the letter that Mayor Whistler sent to CNRL and some of the other companies. And, you know, a month or 2 months ago, I can't remember when it was this fall, there was a horrible pipeline explosion north of Prince George, and less than 24 hours, the communities in the Fortis, BC, and southern British Columbia were requesting and asking people to back off the consumption of their natural gas because they didn't think they'd be able to supply it in less than 24 hours. Half of that supply was down, and so it is frustrating. And you know, people who say this, as you've said, that say, you know, we got to do something different. It's the consumers that are driving the bus. If you want to do something different, do something different. Stop burning natural gas. But until that happens, we're an industry that supports it. We're an industry that provides it. We're people that work hard to deliver it. And it's consumers that are driving the development of it. That's not us in our communities. Yeah. Duncan.
So through your worship, just process-wise, if we want a letter of support, a motion to take it to mayor's business, Brenda?
That would be required.
Sure.
I would certainly.
We'll do that. We'll move that to mayor's business and send a letter of support to the industry. Thank you. Any other councillor business? Oh, I'm sorry. Moved by Councillor Lexton, it was seconded by Councillor Earl.
There you go.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We'll bring it forward to mayor's business. Item 4, minutes. Minutes for a regular meeting of council for December 3rd for adoption. Councillor Lexton, seconded. Councillor Javetkov. Any errors or omissions? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Business arising out of the minutes? Anything? Item 6. 6, intercorrespondence. We have a letter from the South Peace Community Resources. Duncan, can you speak to this first before we get into these two?
Yes, so through your worship, this is something that was flagged this year. This apparently has been going or ongoing since prior to 2006 and has just been added into the grants, the $25,000 sponsorship. We flagged it because at some point it no longer had a resolution or was not added through the budget process as an ongoing sponsorship, so we brought it back to council for council's review. But essentially, they've been paying 10% of the overall cost, which in this case this year, the overall cost is $3,000, and they would be charged $300.
And that's for the bus passes and the swim passes, or just the bus?
Just the bus passes.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm looking for a motion. Do I have? No, but I actually don't have quorum right now at my table. I just gotta wait till Jeremy takes this.
I got a question there.
Okay. I just gotta wait till Jeremy gets back because I don't. Blair's left the room and I don't have quorum.
I had a minute to get new coffee before I went to worship.
Thank you. Councillor Javecka.
So is this something that's typically provided by the province and it's being passed down to the municipality?
Duncan?
So through your worship, this has been provided by the city since pre-2006. Sounds like in 2006 they started paying 10%. Prior to that, they were receiving it free. I don't know all of the history on it. It was flagged, and it's something that I felt needed to come to council just because it wasn't very clear how this was approved.
So it wasn't something that, or it isn't something that's provided by the province?
It hasn't been to date. I don't know that if the province could. It is an annual amount, so I'm not sure.
So, and this says bus passes for their support staff, and
Yeah.
so I'm assuming the province would supply bus passes for some people who are qualifier eligible, and these are just bus passes for the support staff that might be traveling with them?
Yeah, that I'm uncertain. It's
Okay. All right. So we have a request. And the cost is about $2,700 for these 5 bus passes. Councillor Javecka?
I'll make a motion that we receive this for information.
Do you have a seconder? Councillor Kemp? Discussion. Councillor Lexman?
I guess through your worship, the one thing and this is maybe a technical thing, when we do move motions, we're going to receive this for information, means we've received it. Are they not looking for we want your support or we don't want your support, a simple yes or no? Like, it seems to me, if I'm waiting for an answer and they say council received it for information, that doesn't mean anything to me. Does it mean that we're supporting it or not supporting it? I think it's a worthwhile cause. I think without question, the people of our city are going to have to recognize that we're going to do some financial work over the coming years to try and, I think, make sure we're sustainable. And although it isn't a great amount of money, every bit of the dollars we're going to look at are going to be difficult choices. But I'm going to speak against the motion to receive for information simply for the fact I'd rather say yes or a no.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Javecka?
Yeah, in the past, we've, in my memory anyways, we're reluctant to have a negative motion to say, I move that we do not support this. So receiving it for information is the
Not
message
taking
is
any
there,
action.
that we're not going to support it, and I assume that administration passes that message on. It's just, I guess, semantics, but.
Okay.
Brenda?
Yeah, through your worship, if a motion is passed to receive for information, we do get back to the organization and we advise them that it was received for information, which means council wishes to take no further action on this item. So
Okay, thank you.
they are aware.
Thank you. Further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Councillor, yeah. And we're going to go to the next one is 6.2. We have a letter from Charlotte Sullivan as well for the community resources for 5 punch cards for Reconnect Youth Program. Duncan, same thing?
So through your worship, this is a new request that we've received. The punch cards are $50 each. 5 punch cards would be valued at $250.
And would come from community grant?
It would come from your $25,000 grant allocation. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Javetkov.
I'll move that we receive for information.
Second. For a second time, do I have a second? Councillor Lexstrom.
Second.
Discussion. Councillor Javetkov.
This is an example. We've got a number of community service organizations around town that do exactly this type of thing. It seems to be a convenience that, you know, the requests are made to the city, which means that all of the taxpayers of the city are supporting it, even the taxpayers that can't afford to pay taxes. So, you know, these kind of things, I think there's community organizations that'll support this. Like personally, I know of a couple that would definitely support this. You know, I mean, we're all interested in helping underprivileged people. So, but I just think that, you know, coming to the city is just not the right approach.
Thank you. Further discussion on the motion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 6.3, we have an email from Megan Buckham, Regional Negotiator for the Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliations, regarding any comments on the TLE for the Halfway First Nations and their Site C agreement. Looking for if we have any input. Councillor Javetkov?
When I read through this, because it's not involving our area, I just wasn't sure if we, unless I'm missing something, I don't see where we have much concern about it.
Sure. I attended the Treaty Land Entitlement open house at Fort St. John about a week and a half ago with the DOIG, did their open house and talked about the Treaty Land Entitlement process they're going through and what lands. It was very informative, it was very educational and really interesting, and I think all of them are doing that, and I just use that as a segue into this, that halfway are in that same world now of doing their treaty land entitlement stuff. There isn't any impact directly to us, and so, Councillor Javetkov?
I guess the one issue, and it's not directly involving specifically the city of Dawson Creek, but general population, one of the concerns that I have and I've heard is limiting access to lands beyond when these grants are made. You know, any existing accesses, roadways are kept open for the public to access lands beyond. I don't know if that's worth mentioning from the city, but it is more of a generic issue.
Yeah. You know, like I said, I think it'll be, and I hopefully the SOTO and I don't know West Moberly, but when they do their TLE, for people that have an interest in it to get some understanding of that, what are the lands that they're looking to have establishing their treaty land entitlement reserve policy, and where they are, where they're establishing urban reserves. It was very good, and so that would be a great question for any of them that do their TLE stuff, and I'd be happy to ask that at the next one, and hoping Soto or West Moab would do theirs in Dawson Creek, or one of them in Dawson Creek, because it was very educational, it was very informative. So, thank you. So, when motion to receive?
So moved.
Councillor Lexstrom, Councillor Kemp. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.4, we have a letter from Jocelyn Young, manager of CN Rail, regarding our issue around our noise level. Councillor Lexstrom?
Well, thank you, Your Worship. And I raised this issue early on in our mandate after the election. I live in an area where I hear it on a regular basis, and again, I will say it is a good thing to hear a train whistle. It means things are happening on the tracks and we're moving product. But I think it has become an issue throughout our community that at all hours of the night in many cases, 11 p.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m. on occasion. There's trains moving, and we have a number of crossings in our community. And by law, this is not something they're doing intentionally to try and wake kids up or do whatever, but by the law, they're mandated to do this. We do have the ability to work with CN for whistle cessation within our community. I see that Jocelyn has included all of the information in the write-up. I would like to move that the City of Dawson Creek pursue whistle cessation with, or discussions at this point, with CN. I note that they require engineers and lines of sight. I don't think we have to overcomplicate this and spend thousands of dollars doing it. Most of us who live in the region can look and see what goes on there. But my motion would be that the City of Dawson Creek pursue working with CN to pursue whistle cessation in the City of Dawson Creek within our boundaries.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Kemp, discussion. Duncan?
Through your worship, the only piece I would update is I did request some information regarding other communities and costs that I haven't received that yet. So if approved, we'll commence with step one and let the rail company know that the City of Dawson Creek is interested for whistling cessation, and we'll start moving through those steps. And when we know costs and we have an idea of a bit of a plan, I'll bring some information back to council.
Good. Awesome. Councillor
I
Langton?
do note in their documents, of course, they put the onus of cost on the municipality. I think that can be discussed with CN. I think, they're an important part of our economy and our country, but I think both will have a shared responsibility in addressing this issue, so.
We'll start plowing through it with them and get it moving.
All right.
Good. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.5, we have a letter from Dale Harrison, President of Northern Woods and Water Highway Association. And it's a request for some support for the highway guide through an annual membership. This, Councillor Earl?
Oh, I was just going to say, would it be appropriate for us to forward this to Spectre Venue Management in their capacity as the tourism manager, as it kind of falls within their purview?
Sure.
That would be my take on it.
Yeah, great
Hire them to
suggestion.
do it, let them do it.
Making that by way of a motion?
Yes, make that motion that the letter from Northern Woods and Water Highway Association with respect to membership and advertising in their annual guide be forwarded to Spectre Venue Management as the manager of Tourism Dawson Creek.
Thank you. Seconded? Councillor Kemp. Discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.6, we have a letter from Ms. Beth Simpson regarding the proposal to sell the parkland. Councillor Javetkov?
I'd like to make a motion to receive for information and discussion.
Thank you. Seconded? Councillor Kemp? Go ahead.
So, as a result of the proposal that I made a couple meetings ago to look at disposing of some lots on 100B, I've had one person contact me directly, and I've responded to that. But I guess I just wanted to say that, as we go through this exercise, which is going to be quite difficult and quite trying, and we've gone through this before, where every proposal you make is going to have a reaction from somebody in the public. There's nothing that we can do that's going to make everybody happy. So in the past, a lot of times we've capitulated, when we get some response, like we could get a response from 10 or 15 people in town, and we, change our mind. So 10 or 15 people are only a very small part of the taxpayer base here. I appreciate the concerns that people have, but I think it's important that we, as council, if we're going to have any success in our initiative here, that we need to consider these in the big picture. So basically, if we don't have the internal fortitude to receive these kind of criticisms, and kind of put them in the context of, you know, what we're trying to accomplish, we're going to have difficulty. We will not have much success in, you know, rationalizing our financial issues here.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Lekstrom?
It's just speaking to the issue. It's my understanding that when the proposal was put forward to look at it, we're still awaiting information to come back based on, you know, services. Is it serviceable? Is it not? I mean, probably the most valid point that I seen in the letter we received and an email I received and responded to was that the city is going to consider competing with the private sector and selling lots. That's something we have to take into consideration, but not until we get all of the information back. It may very well come back that the sewer or the water is not accessible there, so I'm not going to jump the gun and make a decision on something that I don't have all of the information on, but we are going to look at everything in the city. I mean, parkland is a serious issue to think that we could look at that and possibly remove it, because, as was said, what is the next part? This was an idea that was put forward. I think we're never shy to look at ideas, but until we have the full value of the information we require, I think we're a little premature in where we're at on this.
And we have directed administration to bring back that information once, and just for clarification for anybody watching or listening, once you move to a change in the designation of the property, it's going to go through a rezoning, which involves the public hearing process, which absolutely engages the community and people that are either opposed or in favor of that proposed rezoning bylaw, to be able to give that input into council for us to consider all of those aspects and issues as it relates to the rezoning proposal. So we will go through this as a process. We'll get the information back from administration. Is it viable? Is it technically feasible? And then through the process of the rezoning, like any rezoning bylaw. Thank you. Further discussion? Further comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.7, we have a sponsorship request from Minerals North in Chetwynd. Now, I'm going to make a suggestion here, because if we could refer this back to me as the representative to council on the PRRD, to put a suggestion back through that we consider this through the South Peace Economic Development Commission function, of which we're all part of, through the PRRD, because we do support initiatives individually as a community, like our airport, or like our South Peace Business Directory, or like the South Peace Health Council. I think Minerals North, as an example, is one of those regional functions that benefit us all, that we support each other in different events and different venues. But I'd like to take this back, rather than through us at this council, back through that to get the support there. Seeking council's kind of direction on that, if you'd rather consider and deal with it through here right now. Councillor Javecka?
I think going back, involving the regional district is a good way to go.
And then if it's not available there, we'll bring it back to council for discussion and consideration. So a motion to refer it to South Peace Economic Development. Councillor Javecka, Councillor Earl. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 6.8, we have a letter from Rob Ringma, from Government Relations Manager of BC Transit, regarding their draft three-year budget for April 2019 to March 2022. Duncan, do you have any comments about this for us to consider now?
So through your worship, this is really an informational piece of what you'll see BC Transit providing future budget. And the agreement expires March 31st, 2019, so council will see that annual operating agreement in front of, in council in the new year. This is really just a precursor, providing some estimated draft budgets. There is an increase over the next 3 years that they're showing, of up to 10%. And yeah, so council will have this annual operating agreement in front of you probably early in the new year.
And we'll be bringing this back through into our budget deliberations and discussions for both 19 as well as forward.
Yeah, so these numbers, sorry, through your worship, will flow into the upcoming draft budget.
Perfect. Thank you. Ready for a motion? Councillor Jacko?
Receive for information.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Earl? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Are you okay to go for a bit, or do you want to take a break? You all right?
Yeah.
Back's okay? It's holding up?
It's an age thing.
7.1, report 18-200 from the city planner regarding a cannabis store license and development variance permit 1803 from Swede Development. Duncan, do you have any comments for us?
Through your worship, this is our third, I believe it's our third cannabis license application. The previous two, staff recommended approval. This particular recommendation is that council does not approve the location. It is 20 meters from NAR Park. They're looking for a variance of 130 meters. We also received some negative feedback, which we haven't received in previous applications. So through various circumstances, staff are not recommending this license.
Thank you.
Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Pleasure, Councillor Lexman.
I will move the recommendation to deny the request, and I will speak to it if I have a second.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Kemp, discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, this isn't about picking winners or losers. We did put guidelines in place based on setbacks. We have altered them somewhat. For one, based on a building, if you're at one end of the building, you would be outside of the 150 meters at the building we did. On the end they're going to locate in, they're within the 150 meters, but I believe it's about 17-meter difference. This is a 120-meter request. I think at some point we put our guidelines in, and hopefully the applicants may not have known those guidelines were there, or if they did, they wanted to just see if council would consider this. But I think it's reasonable to say that if we have a 150-meter setback, we try and use that as our goalpost. If there's some slight adjustment, I'm sure that's what we've seen in the past, but 130-meter difference on a 150-meter setback is just far too large.
Duncan?
So through your worship, there are some fees through the provincial licensing process. So we are usually we try to be upfront with our applicants and let them know upon review what our recommendation will be to council. And I believe, Kevin, we met with this group and they were aware that we would not be recommending it based on that 20-meter variance or 130-meter variance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? I agree. I think, you know what, there's the first location, that 20 meters, and if it was in one, like as you say, if it was in one end of the building, would meet it, and the other one. I think we've set some guidelines in place. We put a ton of deliberation into this process for the bylaw, and I think it's appropriate we try to maintain that in as much of a consistent manner as possible. And this one's just way too close. Further discussion? In favor? Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. 8, bylaws, 8.1. We have our report 18203 from our CFO regarding our revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw for 2018. And this is just simply a revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw that we put in place because of the timing from when we get the taxes collected in July. If we need to, we have that revenue borrowing bylaw in place if we need to do it. Have we ever done it? Have we ever enacted it?
So through your worship, I was just asking Flavia that. If we have, it's been a while. We are anticipating this year we will be required to use it.
It just, in the event that that delay in taxation collection to July 1st puts us in that bind. You're waiting for 6 months to get that revenue in. So we need this revenue borrowing bylaw in place in order to allow administration to continue to conduct operations until that taxation is collected. Motion, Councillor Earl?
I'll motion that report number 18-203 from the CFO regarding 2019 revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw 44. 4400, 2018 be received for the council give first 3 readings to revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw number 4400, 2018.
Thank you. Seconded. Councillor Kemp. Discussion? Questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 9, Mayor's Business. So I did mention earlier about the World Cafe. The Doig River Band hosted a information session up in Fort St. John last week, I think it was, on the treaty land entitlement that they were going through in their negotiations and settling their treaty land with the provincial government. And spent about an hour or 2 there with them, and it was very interesting and really informative in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing it. Talked about some of the urban economic zones that they're creating within partnership within Fort St. John, and some properties that they purchased for that purpose. It was just really informative and educational. Chief Makadehe also presented us with a check that day for $20,000 towards the South Peace Health Society and the purchase of that house that we're completing down by the hospital for patient accommodation. And there's a demonstration of our First Nations neighbors working together and helping us try to build community and support them and their residents as well, so we really appreciated it. I had a meeting last week with the Dawson Creek Northern Health group, and they've started the planning mechanism for the new Dawson Creek and District Hospital. And so they're just starting that engagement process right now with stakeholders within Northern Health to begin to understand services and what's going to be built into it. So I got in on that first session. So there's 2 different streams kind of going down. There was always that stream about stage 1, stage 2, build the new 44 inpatient acute care facility for inpatient beds. Take it up from I think they have 25 or so right now, and it'll go to, I think, 44 is the anticipated bed allocation that'll be built. And then second phase would be all that other administration, the new operating rooms, the new trauma unit, emerge, all of that stuff. But the initial scoping of that looks like they're still in this kind of uncertainty of whether it'll be a stage 1, stage 2, or it'll just be a complete rebuild of the hospital right from to new on all of it on the backside of the property. And they're just scoping that out in terms of services. The exciting part for me is planning's underway. Stantec are there. They're the folks, the engineers that are engaged in what an exciting opportunity, I think, for the future of our community and getting that hospital moving ahead. And we'll see it hopefully built within the next 5 years. It was really good. Peace River Regional District last week, we had a meeting with the folks from British Columbia Emergency Health Services Ambulance, along with PRRD and Northern Health, talked about ambulance services in the region, and talked about service, the implications of STARS, how that impacts us transferring patients to acute care and or point-to-point, hospital-to-hospital. It was very good and very educational, but it certainly struck me, and I've reached out to them on the side, and we're going to have a meeting, conference call with Duncan and I think Patrick and Councillor Javetkov will bring you into that as well from the airport. As I've asked them for a separate call this week, I think we have, with the air ambulance folks to talk about infrastructure, our airport, our runway, our infrastructure, what do we have today, and does it meet the needs of the future, anticipating aircraft and all of that stuff, because I know we've heard that a little bit. So we're going to engage. I've set up a conference call with them for later this week. I'll get that on your calendar. Last week we, Barry and Ryan from Canada Event Center, we traveled to Edmonton, and we had 2 purposes. First we met with the Vice President of the Oilers Entertainment Group, Stu Ballantyne. He was here for the U17, along with Al Coates, I think he's the Vice President of NHL. They were here looking at our community and our facility in 2017 at the World Under-17 tournament. They've reached out and have talked to us about kind of partnering and looking at different opportunities that might exist within the Edmonton Oilers Entertainment Group for our community and our event center. So we met with Stu and the Edmonton Oil Kings folks, the major junior franchise owned by the Oilers, within that group. We had a great discussion with them for an hour and a half, and talked about other opportunities that might exist. This just kind of, to me, tailors into that event sport tourism strategy that we've are moving forward with in terms of Hockey Canada as well. And so we really had a really great meeting with the Oilers Entertainment folks, and really excited about the potential opportunities that exist within that as well for us, and building other events to come to the community in partnership with them. And then we carried on to Bonnyville and spent 2 days at Bonnyville at the World Junior A Challenge. And of course, the announcement was made on Wednesday that Dawson Creek has been awarded the World Junior A Challenge for 2019. It'll be held from December 7th to the 15th at the Encana Event Center. The difference between the World Junior A Challenge and the World Under 17 is this Junior A Challenge is the Tier 2 kids that play junior hockey across Canada. So it's a tournament that's put on by Canadian Junior Hockey, the NHL, and Hockey Canada. And these 18-year-olds normally and up are the kids that are going to be in their draft year this year. So the kids that we're playing in Bonnyville will be the kids that the NHL scouts are looking at to draft for 2019. So the rink was full of NHL scouts, which was different than our U17. It was the major junior scouts looking at those kids, 16, 17, that are coming up as really very top prospects. And so it was evident when we got into the rink, the end of the rink was full of these NHL scouts, and that's in partnership with the NHL. It's really a tournament put on for their benefit to be able to look at these kids that are going to be drafted. So it's Russia, Czechoslovakia, USA, and 2 Canadian teams, the Canada East, so it goes Ontario, Quebec East, and Canada West, which is Manitoba West. And so we'll have 2 Canadian teams. It's a 5-team tournament, so it's unlike the other one where we had 8, 4 in Fort St. John and 4 here. It'll be 5, they'll all be in Dawson Creek. So we've got the tournament locked in for next December. It's the next stage in this partnership with Hockey Canada. We think 100, 150 rooms for the scouts. We'll probably have a couple hundred rooms for the players and officials and parents. So that's now we've got to get these guys locked into getting the accommodation ready and food and places to stay and the venue and sponsors and all of that. They'll start working away on it. But it's just another really great, I think, opportunity for us and our community, and diversifying that economy and diversifying the opportunities that come to our community and build economic development for our service sector and our community. And I think it's really good. And we got a week or 9 days, and the community will be alive once again. It was really good. Back on the, we had a conference call on Friday with Northern Mayors, Prince George, Lynn Hall, and kind of being the central focal point of organizing a conference call for all of us in Northern British Columbia as it relates to the Southern Mountain Caribou. We've spoke to this a couple of times over the last month about the issue around Southern Mountain Caribou. We continue to manage this message about the Southern Mountain Caribou and how important that topic is for us in our community, our region, the North, as it relates to us being involved in the discussions in building the recovery plan for the Southern Mountain Caribou, taking into consideration all the facets around the socio and economic impacts that may be impacted by it. The Saulteaux First Nations Chief and Council put out a letter last week, and I was really gratified to see the Chief and Council stepping up and trying to relay some of the aspects around the rumors that are out and about around it. But it still doesn't change the fact to me, and I talked to Chief Cameron a couple times over his letter, and certainly appreciate the fact that they have done that and continue to support that with them. The issue to me is still, and we've talked about this as the Northern Mayors, is that it's the province of British Columbia have to engage us in this discussion and the recovery plan, and engage us as it relates to our community, our residents, our backcountry enthusiasts, industry, agriculture. Anybody that's impacted by it has an interest in it. And I've never talked to one person that doesn't say we're all concerned with ensuring the caribou thrive and survive and build an effective recovery plan for them. But we need to be engaged, and we can't be left on the side of the road, not at the table in these discussions. And so we continue to do that, and we continue to build that message of all of us in northern British Columbia. So people from the Caribou were on the call, from McBride, Valemont, Terra, Smithers, Rupert, and northeastern British Columbia. And we're being consistent in that message about this is about us being involved in the discussion with the provincial government. That's all I have to say about that right now. My last item, we had a letter of support requested by, motion by Councillor Lexstrom for CN to bring forward, and we will send, the motion would be that we would send a letter of support to, and I'm going to make the suggestion it would be the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, PSAC, along with the industry partner, or the industry that are in the upstream, and the major producers, CNRL, Shell, and we can provide that list. Does that work? Councillor Lexstrom?
I think certainly, Your Worship, and I wouldn't hesitate to send it to the 14 municipalities that sent the original letter.
Yeah, cool.
Copy them on it as well.
Good. So the motion was that we send a letter of support. Any further discussion? Brenda?
Did we have a mover and a seconder?
Councillor Lexstrom?
Yes.
And Councillor Kemp? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Diary?
Nothing to update, Your Worship.
Motion on the consent calendar to receive? Any items there anybody wants? Has issues? Motion to receive, consent? Councillor Kemp, Councillor Lexstrom? Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Strategic priorities?
Nothing to update at this time, Your Worship.
Thank you. Media question, Austin? Anything? Thank you. So we're going to go to committee of the whole. We'll take a recess for 5 or 6 minutes, whatever you need, and then come back with the committee of the whole. Thank you. And we're into item 14 of our agenda, committee of the whole reports, and 14.1. We have Staff Sergeant Worrells here this morning. Good morning, Damon.
Good morning.
Good to have you here this morning.
Thank you for having me, sir. Councilors. So I'll go over the report here. Some information has actually changed since I drafted this report, so I'll give you the most up-to-date information as I go through it. So for the period of November, Constable Lessard did transfer from the Dawson Creek Detachment, so he left. We also had one member that returned from administrative duties back to full operational duties, so that was a good thing. At the time of this report, we were carrying 6 hard vacancies and 7 soft vacancies. That's changed even since I wrote this report. So today, actually, our new sergeant arrived here in town, and we picked up one of our new recruits yesterday at the airport. So 2 of those hard vacancies are now filled. As reported to you, we had ordered 3 recruits. I expected 2 of them before. I expected all of them before into December. It didn't work that way. I'm getting 2 of them, one of which arrived yesterday. One will be coming in January. I've also since ordered 2 more recruits for February, and I've been told that those are confirmed. So before February, end of February, that's going to be a total of 5 recruits are going to be coming in. So I'm expecting that all of our hard vacancies are going to be full by the end of February. 2 corporal positions were advertised for promotion. Those positions are currently at the selection phase, which means the selection's been made. We're just waiting for the signatures on the papers to move those forward and get them here. I expect them to be in position by February as well. And as I said, the new Sergeant Ops NCO arrives today. I'm still expecting that 2 to 3 members that are currently unable to work as a result of a soft vacancy, again, those are perhaps injured or members that can't work, will be returning to work, I expect in January. So before, kind of looking forward here, but before February 3rd, I'm anticipating that we'll have 7 to 8 members back on the road. Those are hard vacancies, and then members returning from being injured or soft vacancies. So good news moving forward. Do you have any questions about that at all, or? Just get into our crime trend reporting for the month of November. Actually, this is year to date. So year to date, as of November 30th, we've had a total of 6,844 calls for service within the city of Dawson Creek in 2010 in the rural area. That equates to 77% within the city and 23% in the rural area. Comparative to the same time period for last year, It's about a 4.2% increase within the city of Dawson Creek and a decrease of 8.6% in the rural area. Specifically, some of these categories, and if you guys want to see anything that's not in here, feel free to let me know, and I'll add it if there's something specific that you want to see. I just kind of pick out the ones that I feel are the most important, but if there's something that you want to see in there, just let me know. Theft of vehicle, we had 8 calls of service in November. There was 2 last November in 2017, so it's an increase of 75%. That's a scary number, but the numbers that we're dealing with are small, so even a small increase or decrease equates to a large percentage. Theft from vehicles, it's a decrease of 58%. Break-and enters to residents, we had 8 calls in November. We had 8 calls in November this time last year, so that's unchanged. Break-and enters to business, we had 11 calls this November, 5 last year, 2017. It's an increase of 55%. Assault with a weapon, aggravated assault, it's an increase of 60%. Sexual assault, sexual interference, increase of 400%. That looks big, but that's just because we had 4 calls this month compared to none in November 2017. Drug possession, drug trafficking, decrease of 50%. Drug overdose, 1 call in November, same, it says no calls, but there was 1 call in November 2017, it's unchanged. Impaired driving, a decrease of 45%. Motor vehicle accidents are also down, decrease of 31%. Thefts, including shoplifting, up by 24%. And mental health calls, a decrease of 19%. Some things I'd like to just bring to your attention. You may already know some of these already. Some files that we worked on in November. On November 2nd, we responded to a report of a shooting victim at the intersection of 17th Avenue and Alaska Highway. When we attended, we found a victim that had been shot several times. We provided first aid, and he did survive those wounds. As a result of that investigation, which was a very large investigation, we were able to arrest 2 persons. More arrests are coming as well. Those 2 persons that were arrested, though, are still in custody, and we're going to do our best to keep them in custody until the court matters are done. November 6th, we became aware of a shooting incident in which a vehicle had been shot in Dawson Creek. This particular incident, the vehicle had been essentially conducting their own investigation into matters that were going on in the rural area of Dawson Creek. And the suspects identified that they were being followed by this person, or that he was doing his own investigation, and they confronted him, during which his vehicle was shot numerous times, up to 10 times. He wasn't injured as a result of that. The investigation is still outstanding. On November 8th, we responded to a report of a home invasion at the Hillcrest Motel in Puscoopi. During the investigation, the victim reported that he had been assaulted, that a gun had been used in that assault, hadn't been fired, but he had been hit with the gun. The suspects then stole a vehicle. We located that vehicle later on in the day. We've identified those suspects, and that investigation is ongoing. On November 13th, we were informed that a bunch of firearms were being unloaded into a unit at the Hillcrest Motel in Puscoopi. We attended straight away, and as a result of that investigation and dealing with the resident, we were able to enter the residence and conduct a search. We located 2 modified and illegal guns. They were seized, and that resident was charged. Finally, on November 22nd, we responded to an alarm at the Gold Brick Jewelry Store at the Dawson Creek Mall. We attended and identified that the jewelry store had been broken into. Several pieces of jewelry had been taken. We were able to get a scent track with the police dog to a nearby residence, at which we determined that the suspects had been picked up by a vehicle. We were able to get that surveillance video and identify the vehicle that was involved. We have suspects identified, and that investigation is continuing as well. You may have noted that when I went over the crime trends, that our vehicle thefts were up 75%. So we had 8 calls this November compared to 2 last year. The bait car program, I think, will be effective for that, and we do have that up and running now in Dawson Creek. We did respond to an increase of gun violence, and gun violence at the beginning of November. As a result of that, we brought in various support units from Prince George, including the Gang Task Force and Combined Forces Special Enforcement Unit. We brought in about 10 police officers to give us a hand for a week or two. They assisted us with investigating those matters that were occurring in the beginning of November, but also to give us some enhanced enforcement and suppression within the city of Dawson Creek. That's all I have for you today. Pending any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Earl?
Hey, thank you, Staff Sergeant. I just wanted to follow up. I think I asked you this last time, and it's not so much for you, but more for to bring to public's attention. It's been about 2 months, I think, since the initial meetings with the business community around break-ins.
Yes.
And at that time, you passed a business card and made them aware that the local RCMP detachment, if you book an appointment, will come by and provide an on-site security assessment and recommendations.
Yes.
Has anybody booked an appointment with you?
No.
Thank you, sir.
Further comments, questions? Thank you, Damon. So we appreciate, obviously, the seriousness of some of those events in November, and certainly the support that we get as a community from the North District, and ensuring that those things get dealt with expeditiously. And happy to see that we had some arrests in that regard. I'm also really pleased to see the filling of some of these vacant positions, and I really appreciate obviously the attention you're putting to that and getting us back up to staffed appropriately for our community and the region.
I appreciate that. No one's more happy than I am.
And it'll be interesting to see the bait car in terms of if that has any impacts on our vehicle thefts. The downtown theft and downtown business break-ins still ongoing a bit. Again, it's surfacing here and there.
We've made significant progress on that, and I expect to have some better news for you during my next report.
Awesome. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Damon, thank you. Merry Christmas, and please pass on our best to all the folks at the detachment.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you. 14.2, we have a report from our corporate officer. Good morning.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
Nice to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm just going to point out a couple of things in my report. First of all, the election, of course, is complete, and the only thing outstanding, I think, is on the candidates' end is the financial reporting, and I'm not sure if everybody's
tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock.
But deadline is January 18th for that, and it's directly to Elections BC.
Finally got mine in. Councillor Jack.
So do they, does Victoria or wherever, do they tell you who's still outstanding, or if our financial reports are okay, or?
All the correspondence is directly between Elections BC and the candidates. We're not in that loop, but I can find out for you if you'd like.
I'm assuming they would get to us as candidates if there was any issues with respect to our financial disclosure statements, right?
Yeah, in the past, if there's been any problems, they have been in contact to have them corrected before the deadline. So
if you haven't heard, that's good news, probably.
Yeah. And we still have we've updated the voters list, and we're going to be destroying all the ballots, making some room in our vault again in the next few weeks. But that's wrapping that up. The other thing I didn't include in my report was the Chamberlain Park. The alternate approval process is currently underway. We did have one concern in regards to the creek bed, and that is protected in accordance with our natural hazards development permit area. And if that park dedication is removed from that property, it's still city land, and then the intention is just to discuss with each property owner adjacent to the Chamberlain Park on how we can move forward. The deadline is January 14th. If anybody wants to respond, if they're opposed to council continuing on without a full referendum. So that's where that's at, January 14th, the deadline. And to date, there's been only 2 responses opposed to that. That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Brenda. Questions? Councillor Earl?
I just have a quick question with respect to the business facade program grant. And this has to do with, I think business facade kind of fits in nicely with the emphasis we're looking to put on tourism for the trade show booth. So with respect to the program being undersubscribed, I just want to, and I don't think we need a motion, but just make a suggestion that we have some literature available to people as we host our booth at the trade show to let them know about it as part of the tourism component, because that's, leaving money on the table.
Good.
Yeah, that'll be easily done.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything further? Thank you, Brenda. 14.3, we have a report from our Chief Financial Officer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you. I lost my report. Disappeared. So I think I just want to emphasize about the key work that we are doing in the department, that is the whole budget. You'll be working intensively on the process of collecting the information and putting the data together for management and council. Regarding to the water rate, we are a little on hold that we managed to combine all the information for the software, but then there was I misunderstand what the software could give to us, which was the final rate. So I need to do further step, and I'm working towards that now, is collecting those data and then to be able to bring the suggested tentative rate in our first draft meeting. So that would be reflecting this suggested rate increase. And other than that, I'm available for any question.
And I just want to make a point. We had committed on our bulk water rates that we would, we met once with the water haulers, and we suggested we would have a follow-up with them, Duncan and Kevin. And I just think of that as Flavia says that we need to schedule another follow-up meeting with those guys and have that second piece of that. So thank you. Any questions for Flavia? Thank you, Flavia. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas. 14.4, we have a report from the General Manager of Community Services. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Welcome. Nice to see you.
Again. Worship, Council, good morning. Just a couple highlights out of the report. Reminder again, because of the big department, we just do a partial report. So this time it was fire and some recreation and arena. I don't want to go too much into depth, the report, but I just wanted to highlight in the fire side, I think Chief reported this week that the number of calls are up, and this year might have been the highest. I believe we just passed the highest recorded number of responses, and hopefully we have a quiet Christmas going in. Everything seems to be well in order there. A couple highlights out of the recreation side, a number of recreation programs, but wanted to highlight the fact that the Skate with Santa was another big hit. For those that were around, it's an amazing amount of kids and families that participate in that event, and well attended. A number of statistical data around the program that we do develop, and if there's any questions to those programs, certainly for sure. And a couple highlights out of our pool. One for sure was around the fact that Shannon Gillis and Veronica Murphy were recognized through the BC Ambulance Service for the response of an incident at the pool, and were recommended for presentation. I will say that one of those staff members is very humbled by that and hates to take any recognition, but does a great job, and I'll say her name is Veronica. Shannon would be recognized by the Ambulance Service. I believe she attended that recognition. Also, the Universal Family Change Room has been completed now, which is a big step in making sure we're a multifunctional facility at the pool and meet the needs of all people in our community. A number of statistics around our climbing wall, public served at the pool as well. Wanted to quickly update. I know the worship spoke about a little bit about the Edmonton trip, and our Bonnyville announcement, which is very good to have. The worship was asked over if I could briefly report back out, because he was asked by a member of committee on some of the review of where the finances went, and an overview very quickly of some of the, I'm just going to go with the hard legacy. The soft legacy is measured in things like coach clinics, activities that happened within the community, the outgrowth of that, which was quite universal. But back in 2012 with the female program, we had over $54,000 went back into a third of the programming. A third went to our recreation programs to ensure we continue to grow the game of female hockey. A third went to BC Hockey, which has returned 2 to 3 separate jamborees in support for our female program growth. And the other third went directly to minor hockey in 2012. I think we see some direct results in our female growth of the game and where we're at. Hard legacy back in 2015, 16,000 went into a sport development, 7,500 went back to PRD, and that went back into a universal coaching program for all sports. We gave back $2,500 to Saddle Hills, and they put back into the recreation program. 5,000 went to Ryan Walters for youth sports professional motivation. 26,000 direct to minor hockey. 7,500 for purchase of infrastructure for their youth program. 2,500 went to the Dawson Creek Figure Skating Club. 2,500 to ARC. 2,500 to the foundation, and 2,500 to Step Up and Ride. And this last year in 2017, hard legacy, we measured over $50,000 in direct hockey development through jamborees, Dreams Come True, Coach One, and IP Jamboree. $39,710 went directly to 50-50 to minor hockey, and additional grants awarded were $5,000 to the BC Ski and Recreation, and I believe that went to coaching of Special Olympics children. $5,000 to the Dawson Creek Hospital Foundation when they hosted the Montreal Alumni Game for a fundraiser, and $7,500 went to kids sport, and the remaining legacy went to support the female camp that was here. So I think the worship just wanted that updated for the individual that asked, so those are some pretty impressive numbers for sure. And I believe we'll also see that growth of legacy in the next 5-year plan with Hockey Canada, that money will be going back into community, and that the starting pot of the partnership with Hockey Canada will fund that. We won't be coming back for additional funds or ask for that. Any questions?
Thanks, Barry. Questions? Yeah, I just had a question run through me on the post that came up on Facebook on the World Junior A, and somebody had asked what happened with the money that we had raised and made in the past ones. And I had some of it, but I thought it was really useful for the community to say not only you're going to have 500 hotel rooms in your community of, I don't know, that's $100 a night or minimum $150 a night, times 500 rooms times 7 nights times plus hotel plus restaurants plus other spend, and then you get all this other benefit of legacy that goes into your community of coming back in. So it's got a huge benefit to the community, and certainly we see that. I just thought it'd be useful for us to kind of be reconnected in there. Any questions for Barry? Thanks, Barry. Appreciate it.
Just final comment, it did take me a few days to recover after traveling with Worship and Mr. McIver. Those guys don't work 7-hour days, I'll tell you that. And they go hard, so it was a good recovery this weekend. Thank you.
I saw you at the Christmas party. You recovered enough, man.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Next, we have our report from our General Manager of Development Services. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Welcome.
How are you? I was commenting to Councillor Lekstrom that I went skiing yesterday, and I'm a little stiff, but not as stiff and crooked as Mr. Lekstrom is. By the looks of it, he's
crooked. What? Whoa.
That was sorry. Misaligned. So a couple of items here. It's that time of year where building bylaw, planning, all that, we're kind of in cleanup mode for most of our projects. Engineering, pretty much all of our projects are in substantial completion, and we're cleaning that up, and now we're moving into prepping for next year's projects. Engineering's working on designs for potential road sidewalk projects that will be going through the budget process. Building inspections carrying on. Been a relatively good year. We saw $34 million in construction value, so that's great to see, especially with the last couple of years have been pretty quiet. Seen 36 new dwellings constructed, which again was up considerably over the last couple of years. So we're seeing that growth in the in the building side of things again, so that's good. And we're definitely in the last month starting to see a lot more traffic, just people kind of looking at past projects that maybe had cooled off, and they're looking at starting things up again, or even new projects. So we're anticipating 19 to be busier than 18, so that's good. Zoning bylaws, we had that workshop with council last meeting. That's ongoing. Hope to have that completed by the spring of 2019. We'll be having some workshops with developers, builders, maybe some realtors here in the new year, just to kind of go through what works well, what could be improved, and start that process. One thing I wanted to touch on as well, we've just finalized the Louisiana Pacific waterline agreement, which for new councillors, they would maybe not be aware, as Louisiana Pacific is continuing to do a major upgrade out there. As part of that, they constructed a water line extension out to their facility. They needed a larger water line. As part of that, the city partnered with them to upsize the line even more so than what Louisiana Pacific needed, so we could provide additional water and fire flows for that stretch along the Alaska Avenue. As part of that, the city contributed $127,000 towards that upgrade. Louisiana Pacific finished that project early in 18, and as part of that, we needed to finalize a few things with them, and we just did that just recently. So we've got a signed agreement with them that states that water line is ours up to the property line of Louisiana Pacific. That allows some of those businesses along Alaska to connect to a water line that in the past they've never had that opportunity. So that's good news for them, and we've already got one of the businesses, AgroSource, which is in the process of making a connection. So it's good news. So that's completed. And the last item, I think, was which you're probably all well aware of, is Alex Wallace, our development services manager, has moved on. She's now down at the in Pitt Meadows, taking on the development manager position there. So we wish her well. That position is vacant at this time, and we'll probably look at doing something in the new year with that. That is a bit of a key position for us if development picks up, for sure. And the other one I had noted was the second building inspector. We've traditionally had 2 building inspectors. Recently, we had an agreement with the Peace River Regional District where they had a regional building inspector, so we had decided at that time not to fill our second one and use that one. That position's moved on, so we're down to truly just one, with anticipating things picking up in 19. We were looking to hire another one. We did some advertising, and we didn't have a lot of success. We had a couple applicants the first go around that were not qualified, and the second we had no applicants at all. So we'll revisit that again in the new year and see if what it looks like at that point in time. So, any questions?
Thanks, Kevin. Questions for Kevin? 2 things for me, Kevin. The Royal Water Reservoir. What did we get into there for the fall for?
Yeah, so we're actually in really good shape. The weather obviously has cooperated. It's been warm. So last I looked, which was last week, I had a report come through. We're over 2 meters of water in there, so we're well above where we needed to be as far as to protect that infrastructure. So things are still plugging away there, so we're in good shape.
Would it have a couple 100 million cubes in there then?
Total is 1 million cubes right now. So we're in that probably a couple 100,000 to 225 right now, and growing. So it's coming.
So it's about a quarter full, basically.
Just about.
Good.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Yes.
And anything further for Kevin? Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you.
And 14.6, we have a report from our airport manager. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Pardon me?
Welcome. Nice to have you here.
So before I get into the report, I'll just introduce myself to the new counselors. Came from Vancouver. I went to BCIT for the aviation management program. After completing that, got a couple years experience at YVR. And last August, I started the position over here as airport manager and have been loving it since. So I'll just get into the report. So strategic priorities, we got the runway extension engineering underway. We'll have rough engineering drawings for this before December 31st. There will be signs going up soon, part of the public consultation process. Under Transport Canada regulations, we need to do this. Report will be provided back to the city when this is all completed. That public consultation process will take 60 days. Operational strategies from our SMS, we've developed proactive safety reports, 1 a month. Very efficient way in reducing near misses, hazardous conditions. It's been a way to kind of bring awareness to our staff that we can work on safety and continuously improve on it. It's been very good. Respond to TC CADORs. So just for the new counselors, CADORs are Transport Canada occurrences that happen at airports. We get dinged essentially each time that maybe a staff member forgot to call off the runway and a plane is inbound, etc. This year we've had 0, so this is the first time in a very, very long time that we have had none. Our Transport Canada inspector was up here for an audit and noted that that's something that hasn't been done in all the north of BC, so that's very good to know. Training, all of our staff are now up to standards. We even got them additional training. It's huge, beneficial for them to understand the industry that they're working in, because a lot of them come from the oil and gas industry. It's a completely different industry than the aviation industry, and we're plugging away at that continuously. We've developed 2 standard operating procedures as well. I'll get into the interesting stuff. Central Mountain Air is continuing to provide scheduled passenger service. There was 2 days in the last week in November that they weren't able to come in. This was due to our de-icing truck having a malfunction. We did figure out a short-term solution. The thing with this de-icing truck is it was built in 1992. We actually got in contact with the guy who built that truck, and he said no 2 trucks are built alike. So finding that part that is actually damaged is going to be a process. Let's just leave it at that. However, we do have a short-term solution, so we're able to de-ice right now. And we're working with CMA to see if we can do anything further moving forward for them. Charter aircraft continue to play a big role. We're seeing a spin-off effect from all this LNG activity that's ongoing in Northeast BC. We're working real hard with these charter companies to provide them with the best customer service we possibly can, in hopes that they'll continue to fly into Dawson. We've had a lot of compliments from them, and we're just working on keeping that reputation in good terms. So we had our second busiest month of the year in October for both aircraft movements and passenger statistics. I meant to attach the stats. I can provide it after though. January of 2018, this year, we hit low numbers across the board. However, going into January 2019, we expect these numbers to continually rise. We saw that presentation from North River Midstream. 500 plus jobs coming to the region in phase 2. This is something that we could potentially attract. There's a lot of indirect jobs from all this stuff too, and they're all flying in, either here or somewhere else. So we'll keep working on having and enticing them to come into Dawson. The airport remains busy with Medivacs. When I drafted this report, we had 174. That changed to 188. Last night we had another one. This morning we have another one. They're ongoing. We get a lot of Medivacs. Last year we had 250 plus, so we actually went down this year in Medivacs. I guess that's a good thing though, that people don't need that. So, anyways, winter operations started November 1st at the airport. Attended a conference in the spring, had pilots voice their praises about our winter operations, and they kind of called us out and said that, you know, this is an airport to kind of follow when it comes to winter operations, which is a good note. We underwent a Transport Canada security audit. They had no major concerns and feel the airport is doing an incredible job to maintain certifications. They spent 2 days. They audit everything, all the documentation, everything from safety to security. And there was a couple things that we were doing that Fort St. John wasn't. So we're working with Fort St. John to kind of improve their security and safety standards. This year, I kind of summed it up, negative and positive impacts. The first 2 bullets, it's part of a rebranding that I'm trying to undertake. We transitioned from traditional marketing methods to online marketing methods, as everyone is on the internet now, and that is how they get all their information. We built a brand new website, so now I can maintain that website in-house instead of contracting it out. Created a new safety and security awareness program. I spoke at a conference in May, which was a highlight. Created an air service development plan to target airlines about opportunities of flying into Dawson Creek. Earlier this year, we held a Copa for Kids event. That event was a huge success, and we'll probably do that every year now, hopefully twice a year. We were able to hang up local pilot Danny Simmons' Angel One airplane in the restaurant, which was amazing to kind of acknowledge the local pilots and how they contribute to the airport and the economy as well. We had Hockey Canada fly in September with their Avro RJ100. This is the biggest aircraft we hosted this year. It can seat around 100 people. That was flown by North Caribou. We also created a training plan to ensure staff has all sufficient certifications based on Transport Canada. And just to build off the Hockey Canada note, we're looking, hopefully we can work with this event tourism model and continue to fly in people through charters into our airport and use that to our advantage. So moving into 2019, there are a couple things that I kind of really want to tackle. The first thing is organizing a full-scale emergency exercise with the fire department, RCMP, BC ambulance, and public works, since they're situated at the airport. All the contractors at the airport. I think it'll be beneficial. It's something to be proactive about, and it is part of a regulatory requirement as well. Next year, it's ambitious. I would like to secure another airline. I think we see the opportunity, and I think airlines will start to see the opportunity to fly into here, and I'll keep plugging away at that. I also want to coordinate. The last 2 things are kind of joint, so I kind of want to coordinate and facilitate a strategic planning session with council. Out of this, what I want to come out of it is a clear vision of how we want to proceed with the airport moving forward. And with that clear vision, it's just going to be something realistic and something that we can execute. I'll take whatever we come out of that strategic planning session, create an airport master plan. So no matter who stays or goes, the plan the base of it stays the same, and we can maneuver it accordingly year to year. My most ambitious goal is to create more aeronautical and non-aeronautical revenues. The airport is a business, and we need to treat it more like a business moving forward. There's a lot of opportunities with the airport, a lot of different things that we can do with it. My plan is to kind of set up a financial plan where we can start to offset our costs. It's as simple as it is, and that'll come out of the strategic planning session, and we can kind of move forward together. Any questions?
Thank you, Patrick. Any questions? Councillor Lexstrom?
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks, Patrick, for your report. A couple of quick ones. Medevacs, we had 170, and you upped that number. How has your discussion with the carriers for medevac been? Are they okay with flying into Dawson? You hear different things at different times. Can you just give me an update on that?
How I would put it is, for instance, de-icing. If our de-icing equipment goes down, they'll fly into Fort St. John. If we have it up and running, they prefer to fly into Dawson. So at the end of the day, they prefer to come into Dawson. It's a lot easier for these ambulances to drive to Dawson Creek Airport rather than go all the way to Fort St. John Airport. In talks with the mayor and this air ambulance conference call that they had, whatever suggestions they have, we can do anything we can to kind of provide any service that they want. We're here for the customer service, so they're our customer and we'll work our tails off to please them.
Okay, so there's nothing major at our airport that they've highlighted to say you've got to do A, B, or C, or?
Not at the moment.
Okay, all right. And following up, one other question. I noted in one of your bullets, it says Orca Airways and Integra are stopped. Is that just because they no longer have the need to come and land here, or are they going somewhere else?
No, so Integra and Orca Airways actually went bankrupt this year.
Well, it's a good thing they're not landing here. Then.
Exactly. They kind of left. So Integra went bankrupt. Orca Airways went bankrupt before them. Integra took over Orca Airways, and then they kind of went down together.
All right, okay, thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So that's Committee of the Whole for us this morning. Motion to recess to closed. Councillor Earl, Councillor Javetkov. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So we'll take 5